Ooh, we're gonna do a demo?
Yee.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah.
Yee.
Should we mute?
You guys can talk, ask me questions.
Cool.
Oh yeah, so I saw the last thing I saw on your YouTube, I think it was. How are you going with the VR stuff?
Oh, I actually stopped doing that for a while. I was working for a
Really?
company doing VR, and then I stopped doing it because I realized that VR is just not ready, and I'm not ready.
Mm-mm.
I'm not ready
Definitely
for it.
not. And so we could just like connect our brains into it. It's not gonna it's not gonna be very functional.
No, it's too expensive,
Yeah.
and it's just too big. I
Hmm.
think once it's something that you could, like if you could put on as easy as sunglasses and
Oh,
experience it,
that's gonna be a while.
I think like another decade at least. So not too
Yeah.
far off.
Oh, damn, that shot back a lot. I thought it was going to be like
Cause,
next year. It's like, no, 10
cause
years.
at first when I thought like when you started doing it, that's kind of when I started wanting to do like work in VR.
Oh, you
But
know what
I've
though?
I've
Like
just heard a lot of
I
in
think
terms of like
oh sorry, I keep interrupting. Go ahead, finish.
no, it's alright. I was saying in terms of like development, I've heard a lot of like negative stuff about actually working in it.
Yeah, so I think it's actually in terms of practicality, it makes more sense in development.
Yeah.
Like making things in VR, I think makes more sense. And then putting it into like regular stuff. Like being able
Ra-
to like
like
let's say
rather than making it and then trying to port it into VR or something.
no. Let me give you an example. Like imagine that I want to design a golf club. I can design it in VR to scale and see it and feel get a good sense of how it feels, and then 3D print it like right after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like a car, even something else, something that's a little more larger. It's hard to test. You know,
Yeah.
you can test it in VR, and that's I think makes the most sense because these people are willing to spend thousands of dollars on equipment and tools to do stuff like that. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
your average Joe isn't, at least not yet. You know?
Oh yeah, that's a big thing is just the cost effectiveness of just for the consumer, it's it's not there yet at
Yeah,
all.
and that's what I mean by it's not there. I mean
Hmm.
it's actually great. If you've ever experienced it, you'll be hooked. You think it's
No, I have yet to, but
yeah.
I've
Once you've
heard a lot
experienced
of
it,
good
it's
things.
great.
Oh man.
Yeah, I recommend you experience it however you can, and then you'll see
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. But then as time goes on, you'll see what I'm talking about in terms of its practicality. It's just too heavy. It's too big. But like if I wanted to make some 3D environment and stuff like that, I think tools wise it makes perfect sense in terms of how many people are going to spend money on it. But I don't think it's dead though. I think it is just not um, in the coming years going to take off. But it will be the next big thing for sure.
Yeah. A
It
lot
really
of
is.
my a lot of programmers that I work with that like we talk about like it and one of the major problems they have and I probably have too is just like in terms of like just gaming in specific is traversing like the like how you go across or how you move.
Oh, sure. That's another problem. Is
Yeah.
not so much that. That's not a problem. The problem is that people keep thinking that's a problem. It's like stop treating it like next generation consoles that took decades for them to even have something remotely close to what they have today. It's like expecting the Super Nintendo to have Call of Duty.
Dude, I've gotten in huge arguments about this. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like what do you expect? The technology is still really new and fresh.
Yeah.
It's not like you already want it to be like Star Trek, you know?
Hmm.
It's like no, like it needs time to be that. And developers, that's the problem. A lot of the developers are like, how do we make Call of Duty in VR? It's like, no, how do you make a VR game that competes against Call of Duty? You
It's the
know?
same thing with iPhones. Like,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
still even see that sometimes now. You see, like, they've got, like, oh, the new Spider-Man movie came out, so there's a little Spider-Man game app on it. It's like, but really the best ones for iPhones are ones that are made for it, like fucking Happy Bird or Cut the Rope or whatever. So
Yeah,
VR is going to have its own
absolutely.
kind of fucking thing.
Absolutely. Like, and people need to, the developers, only the developers that are starting to understand this are going to probably be the most successful.
That's why I'll never support AAA games that are made for consoles that are ported to PC.
Yeah, it's just, like, uh, you're not taking advantage of the device's um, capabilities. Like, you're like, how do we
Yeah.
make a first-person shooter game? It's like, no, like, how do you make a great VR, like a game that can only be played on VR? Like, that's like, there's no other way around it. You know what I mean?
It's like walking simulator games, like
Yeah, they're not really
Gone
trying.
Home or
Only
something.
the only companies that really try and they make really good platforms is Steam, and Steam because Steam's a great developer. They understand, right?
Tons of money to invest in it too.
Yeah, but they understand like the platform in which they're investing in. They're not fools, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so like a good example of a game that really takes advantage of it is like these puzzle games where you have to like know your surroundings and stuff like that. There's a sense of presence that you have in VR that you just don't get in any other game platform. And the people who understand this are going to be the most successful. And another thing that needs to be true is that these companies need to stay small too. They need to stay very small so they can be very flexible and really test the waters of this technology. Because remember, like first-person shooters didn't even come out for a while, and the first true 3D first-person didn't come out for much, much later. Like Doom came out, but it was fake. It was fake 3D,
Yeah.
right? And like I think the real 3D was on the PC, right? And then the real console first-person shooter wasn't popular until like Halo, I believe. You know, so it's like like yeah, if you're trying to make a game where you're traversing in a first-person world, then yeah, it's not gonna be that great.
Is that teal like a reflected light, or is that like a local value?
It's like a local. I'm just like painting.
I don't know, it's sexy.
Cool.
I'm just
Regardless.
I'm just playing with the saturation and colors. I've been painting straight in color a lot more lately because I want to get good at it to the point where I can just paint really, really good colors.
I've noticed, not to be like a dick, but like I've seen your progression with like the colors. You've gotten a lot more comfortable
Not to be a
with
dick.
it.
What does that mean? You're trying to say,
Well, like not
what?
You suck,
not to
Anthony.
like
You just
like
How dare you?
I mean, that's a
mind,
compliment.
like I know what's up.
Yeah, it sounded like a compliment. That's the funny thing. It didn't even sound like
Oh, I know.
you were just afraid that I
Maybe
might
it's an
take it.
Australian thing.
Yeah, you're afraid that I might take it wrong. But
Yeah.
Wait,
no, dude, of
who's
course.
Australian as well?
I'm not Australian.
Hmm?
Yeah, you
Who's
I thought I
right
was
there.
the only Australian here.
I think you're the only Aussie.
Ah, damn.
Sorry, man.
Wait, did you just say Aussie?
Yeah.
I hate
Wait, is that
He's the-
offensive?
it's not offensive. It's just no one says it like that. They're like, she's going out with an Aussie. It's like, what? It's just Aussie.
I
There's
wonder
a
if that's
Z, not an
similar.
Os.
Yeah, I wonder if it's similar to saying like Yankee for us Americans.
Yankee. Is that offensive?
No, I don't.
Not really.
I don't see any
I
offense.
mean,
It's
maybe.
cool.
Like Aussies calling me English boys. Like when I was over in New Zealand, everyone was like, "Oh man, you're a fucking boy."
Wait, what? You're what?
You were like, I heard more like static than you actually speaking.
Yeah, he just said he
I
dropped
heard you're a
the
commie.
N-word. I heard the N-word.
I heard commie.
Alright, call me too.
I heard a commie.
You know, the funniest thing, whenever I talk with English people, I always say the stuff from Pirates of the Caribbean. Hello, Bobbit.
Hello.
How dare you? How
I make
dare
fun of
you?
my mom that way. My mom's English, and so I'll mock her because, like, with our cats, she goes like, "It's time for din din," and if I do it, they don't respond to me, and she's like, "It's because you have a British accent," and I'm like, "Oh, you boys want some din din, do ya?" And she's like, "That's not funny."
Yeah.
Yo, it's fine. Like, it's hard when it's like immigrant parents trying to talk to you in like English. Oh, go get me some Bebsy. What is that? Bebsy. But what is that? Pepsi. Oh, okay. Makes
My,
sense.
my mom is straight up Korean, so she has like Korean.
Yeah?
Yeah, so she's Antona.
Oh.
It's funny because I told my mom, I was like,
Man.
why did you name me something you can't even pronounce? Like she can't say Anthony. She says Antoine. Like there's an H in there, mom. Mom, why do you name me?
Maybe that isn't. Check your birth certificate. You might just be getting it wrong over there.
Oh my
It means
god.
actually Anthony.
No, I feel
Antoine.
you.
No, she can't say it, the TH sound. Yeah, so it's definitely
My name's like really, it's very Arab, so it's just like whenever anyone white tries to say it, it's just like, alright, just go with it. It's like, oh, how you pronounce it? You just throw up a bit, you know,
What?
how you pronounce it. It's
Wait,
like, there's a lot of like,
how do you actually say what's your name in its entirety? How do you say it?
alright, bear yourself. Just,
We're gonna clear the throat.
just take it on, take it on, take it on. Alright. Simon Shahrouk.
What?
See?
Simma.
Wait, where are you from?
Lebanon.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's at.
You know where?
Somewhere.
You know where Syria is?
Somewhere in the world.
That's not in America. That's all I know.
Next door is Syria.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and next door is Israel, which is Palestine. But,
Sweet.
but, yeah, it's really hard to pronounce.
That is hard to pronounce. But it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like, it's only hard for us Americans to pronounce. Unfortunately, I don't know if you know this, but America is not most of the world.
Really?
Yeah, so I wouldn't be
no idea.
embarrassed. Yeah, I wouldn't be
All
embarrassed.
good.
Hey, we
It's
own
just what it is.
everything, but China makes everything. How's that work?
We don't own anything, man. Like nothing is uniquely American. Like think of what's American. Like that's
Burger.
that's what's
No.
beautiful. No, not even that.
No, that's
Burger
German. That's
is like
German.
German, yeah. So like what I'm trying to say is that what
American Pie.
that's not even ours either.
Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Probably
that's
not.
Donald Trump is not even ours. He's from an immigrant
German.
family. Yeah. So my
Donald
point is
Trump.
that my point is that, like there's obviously a stereotype of like the white America, right? But what really is America is the fact that that we don't have a thing, you know? That's actually to be proud of, is that because we're so diverse, you know what I mean? That we don't really have a thing that is American. Like even our White House is Greek archaeology.
But to be honest,
Architecture.
there
So it's
are
like-
places in America that like are different in terms of just like culture are different, like the South versus the North.
Yeah, but
I feel like because you're so fucking big, like it's scary
Yeah.
to think about it. Like
Wait,
Australia is
wait,
almost
wait,
the
the
same
Australian
size.
is saying that they're big. Do you have farms in Australia bigger than my country?
Yeah, that's true, but we've only got 20 million people across this huge thing, and the rest is just fucking desert. Like you don't go
You're
there.
talking,
You just
you're talking
Yeah.
to me, a Canadian that lives in like the only habitable part of Canada. The rest is just snow.
yeah.
yeah,
You're talking to me.
the
In
thing,
America,
I'm
there's
kind of
like people
wasteland.
in the middle.
yeah, the funny thing is that like that's really what it comes down to. Like even what you're saying about the South and the like, that's not really even that, you know, really isn't. You know what I mean? A lot of like our culture is from other places. It just is.
No,
No way around
I
it.
mean, I'm not saying that like
How dare you?
have like, originality in terms of. I'm just saying there in terms of just like at least modern culture, there's still differences in America,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm
Like-
not
There's
saying,
regional
regardless
aspects
of if they
everywhere.
were imported from elsewhere.
but you're saying like rednecks and hicks is like a thing that we have.
Well, not even
Not
like
really,
to be
right?
like cliche like that, but yeah, technically, yeah.
But not really, because you know
Yeah.
there's a similar thing in other countries. You know, they just don't call them
Oh,
hicks.
dude, tell me about the fucking UKIP
Yeah.
leave voting. Brexit bastards.
You're a robot,
There's
dude.
a robot.
You're a
There's a
goddamn robot.
robot.
Yeah, you need to get a better
The
mic.
guy you're painting talks.
No, but like, I just did a Skype test call and it came back weird. Like, it's something to do with this thing because my Skype test call sounds fine.
We're
What?
bigoted against
I
robots.
heard my Skype testicle. What?
Oh, you going to bed? Mama?
Yeah, I heard
I
that.
love you.
I want to see a doctor about that, man.
Play a game with
I'm a
Test
skin
4.
doctor.
Okay, that's better.
Okay. Well, I'm in class, mamas. I love you.
Oh, can I
Um.
have a suggestion on the painting thingy?
Oh yeah,
His
sure.
gold bit, can you make it like super shiny? I just want to see what it look like.
Oh sure.
Super shiny.
Yeah, like as if
Okay.
his face is actually gold. Like reflective.
Oh, like specular.
Yeah.
Since
Something
Ooh.
like that.
give us the one miracle, one magical, n- just
We'll get there.
all encompassing thing in terms of color that you could just define just by saying, yeah, this is the like a theory of color that you use. Do you use the color wheel?
The number one thing to say about color is
I'm sorry, I'm drunk.
the best thing about to get your colors to be the best they can be is have good values.
So like regardless of color, as long as
Almost
their values are alright.
almost entirely the problems with other like art like young artists artwork in terms of their color is that they have bad values.
Hard though,
And
because sometimes when you put color on it, it looks like it's got a different value. Like you'll put a red on something and it'll seem
Yeah,
darker or brighter
And
or
then
some shit. It's
the
hard.
thing,
But then you
because you don't
adjust.
know the value of red. Like, do you know the value of red?
no,
Yeah.
No, fuck.
So what do you expect's going to happen if you don't know what red value is? So you're telling me that this light gray is going to be red and this dark gray is going to be red?
hmm.
No, this is
But
going to
then you
probably be
get
pink, and then this is probably going to be brown, and red's
But then,
right around here. It's more of like
but then, how do you
That's a cool way of thinking
call
about it.
for like saturation and stuff
so
between
check it
them?
out. So this is a color layer. I'm going to put red up against that, and you're going to see what happens.
Oh, okay.
And that's really saturated red too.
That's red. Red is red, right? And so what ends up happening is like people are like, well, you know, they're painting their design and they're painting everything super light, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to make this red now. And it's like, that's not how it works. They're like, oh, why is it so tinted? Because it can't, because red has its own value, right? And what I've discovered is that, you know, if you don't understand your values, and in every aspect of the word, you'll have a hard time seeing color, or getting colors right. So for instance, I realized that if you stay within like this range, like the light to mid-tone values and the dark mid-tone values, like right around there, that's where you can get the most color saturation in some of the more pure colors like blue, red, green, you know? But then there's like colors like orange and yellow and like magenta that are a little bit darker, you know?
Yeah.
And you just got to know that. Like turquoise lives in a little bit lighter, you know? Like those colors are relatively darker and lighter. They're not dramatic though, because when you start to go closer to white, then it's white, right? And when you go closer to black, it's black. So the darker the value is, like this is gonna be hard to put red in there, and this is gonna be hard to put red in this because it's too light and this is too dark. But in between is where you can really get a value. So if you're designing a character and you're like, this is where my character is like this, so you can expect him to be, he's not gonna have red skin or any kind of colored skin really, right? It's gonna be pale of some sort. But then this, same problem, it's too dark. So you're not gonna, it's not gonna have really good color in it either. I mean, it will have more color in it than the light will.
Okay.
But then when you pick it somewhere in the middle, then you can say that that could be blue or red, you know,
Okay. I see what you're saying now.
right? And then so then what you can do is then when you're actually coloring, you can feel confident. Whoops, I have this blue. That can be mostly blue, right?
So since you say that, does it matter if you're trying to keep some kind of consistency between the values and the color, the
Well,
actual color of the light and dark versus just the midtones?
whenever I'm designing, I don't worry about color mostly, just
Hmm.
because color can change even in just a sense of an environment. right?
Yeah.
That's why I don't really worry about it. I only worry about values. So, for instance, um, you could be in a room with a red light, right? And that's the only light that's in the room. You would never do this. You know? Because when you do that, you're implying that there's another color light in there.
Yeah.
Because the only light that would be able to bounce off of this, even if it was a blue surface, would be what color? Red. Right?
Mm.
Like, have you ever been to like a concert and they only had like red lights or blue lights?
Been too many
Yeah.
colors.
Well, then if you look around, you'll notice that there's no other color at that moment.
Yeah.
It's really like, think about what light does, right? Like, or color. Where does it come from? It's coming from the light source
Mm.
bouncing off of a surface into your eyes, right? And the only thing that comes back out is what's not being absorbed, right? Because light can do three things to that object at a very high level, which is reflect, absorb, or refract. And refracting means it goes right through it, right?
Mm.
So when light, if light is all the light that's being absorbed on this, um, will stay in that surface, and all the light that bounces back will bounce into your eyes, right? So that's why like black is black, because black absorbs most light and color, right? And white is white because it's reflecting pretty much all light and color, right? That's why wearing a white t-shirt on a sunny day keeps you cooler than a black t-shirt, because a white t-shirt's literally reflecting all the light off of you, and then the black t-shirt's literally keeping the light on you, right? So if you have an environment where it only has red light, there's no other color light in that, then there's only red. Red is the only light that's going to reflect back at all anyway. So then you got to count on what? You got to count on your values, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still just about um, your values.
All right.
And so when I'm painting this guy, for instance, that's all I care about too, right?
Wait.
So you can see.
At the same time, the lighting you're doing is mostly local, right? So it's not gonna look.
Well, there's a light source that's coming from the top. You're just getting distracted by the colors. That's all.
Uh,
Wait, so
Colors
would
are super distracting. My point is like if you're not good with your values, then don't trust your colors yet, all right? Because your colors will lie to you every time.
So would you say, like, anyone can understand my robotic voice?
A little bit, yeah.
That I've never really tried the whole going from black and white to color. I've always just gone color. Would you? I didn't just because I didn't really try it. Would you say that it's a really good point to start then doing the whole black and white and then trying to color it?
Absolutely, it's one of the fastest ways to get to the final painting, right? Just go straight to where the final painting is going to look like. What were you going to say aside from that?
But just like I just never tried the whole drill of just practicing black and white and then doing the colors on top. Is that worth it, or?
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
hard.
I think it's good to just master your values. And you'll see that your colors will be much stronger. Yeah, of course it's hard. I mean, if it was easy, then everybody would just be doing it already, right?
Yeah.
Like
Wait,
you'll find
so
that just you'll find that if something's hard, there's no reason there's no reason not to do it.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying don't do it. I was just saying it's fucking hard, bro.
Yeah,
Have fun.
the sky is
Well-
blue, the grass is green, things are hard.
I'm,
It's what I'm saying.
least-
This is obvious. It's like I don't like people saying things are hard because it's like, in my opinion, it's already accounted for. Like it's already
well,
it's already a thing.
Expected.
Yeah, like if you're
Let
not
me-
expecting it to be hard, then I'll be curious to why.
can I ask you, at least from someone who prefers 3D, like I work a lot in ZBrush and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, what's the benefit of learning the values to like a certain depth when you can set up a lighting system and have those values already set up for you and then just do like a paint over?
So you can understand the amount of contrast that you can do. I noticed that a lot of 3D artists don't understand that just because you have free lighting doesn't mean that it's good, right? So
Yeah.
it's not that you even have to paint. Just understand your values. You understand?
Mhm.
Like you don't have to. I'm not even saying that you have to learn your values through painting. Like you can do it all through 3D. You know.
Mhm.
Um, in fact, if anything, you could probably learn it more from photography or great cinematography, right? Because you can open up a 3D scene, put a light in, and it'll look like a 3D scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then there's people who understand there's more that than just turning on a light to make something look interesting, right? That's the difference between home videos and cinematic experiences, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a difference between television and then movies, right?
All the spotlights and shit set
Lifetime
up.
movies.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's something that you don't really think about until you have to think about it, right? Like, and that's the thing. Like, you know when you're watching a movie versus when you're watching a TV show almost instantly,
Mhm.
right? That's why like everyone, like I for the longest time didn't understand it, but I understand it now. Um, loves Game of Thrones, and I was like, I
Mhm.
don't get it. It's just a soap opera, straight up. Like, and I was like, I don't like soap operas. It's just drama on top of drama on top of drama. By the way, I'm in camp. I'm in camp Darnassus, so she's
Dude,
coming
I
in.
still need to watch Game of
She's coming
Thrones.
in to wreck some houses now finally, and so I'm like, finally, now I'm like real
So
invested in a TV show. But my point is that that show was just so well lit, and so well filmed
oh
that like it doesn't matter, right? Like it's just so good. I remember while I was watching the one of the latest episodes, the Battle of the Bastards, and I was like,
Mm.
this is like not only just good television, this is like good cinema. This is like really good. You know, like this is like
Yeah.
so interesting. Like from a story aspect, this is so interesting. At a cinematic aspect, it's so interesting. I was like, it's one of the coolest fight scenes I've seen. It's like Saving Private Ryan, but with swords. It was great. I was like, oh, dude, this is so good. You know?
I love how
yeah. Is that the one
exaggerated.
with the
Wait, what did you
giant?
think of Revenant?
Revenant was great. Yeah, I liked
That
it.
was a beautiful movie.
But my point
Mm,
is, there's a differences between like you can tell that it's a movie versus a TV show, right? Getting back to kind of the substance of what we're talking about, right? Like you know the difference between like Law and Order and Breaking Bad, cinematically. You know what I mean?
mhm.
They're different kinds of shows, and people like them for different reasons. But people think that Breaking Bad is critically acclaimed for a reason
Mhm.
because it looks like beautifully. You know,
Well, the real of the story.
yeah, and the show's a great show too. It's not just a really good film show; it's actually really good too. That helps. That like that. That's kind of my main complaints with most people who complain,
Uh,
which is that people say like, why doesn't Hollywood get their act together and make better movies? It's because making good movies is hard. It's back
well, and
to
it's not in
it's
the
like
same way that you were talking about VR. It's not monetarily, at least from what they've shown, even worth it in the
yeah,
short term to
it
make a quote unquote good movie.
it's not as simple as you think. That's my point. Like that's like the fact that you think this means you know nothing about how the show business works, right?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, right?
Oh
Because
wow.
Oh.
yeah,
Such
you're the only
shit,
person
bro.
that was talking to me. Who else?
Are you calling me
No,
out?
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. My point is
No, no,
that
it's fine.
when people say that why can't Hollywood make good movies, I'm trying to say you think it's easy to make a good movie. It's not, and that's why
Oh, no, no,
there are
no, that's
far
not
and
what I
few.
meant.
Well, I wasn't even referring to you specifically either. You
Oh,
just brought up a point and you're like, well, I think Hollywood can do it, and then that's
I
when
thought
I
you were
said,
calling me
and then then that's when I called you out. Yeah, and then that's when I said because you don't know anything about Hollywood, and that's it's probably factually true. I still don't understand
Yeah, it
right?
is true. But,
And here's the thing, like think about it. Like people got upset with the No Man's Sky as well, right? Because of the whole like, oh, they were promising freaking infinite worlds, and that is mostly on their fault, to be honest. But like, come on, it's not easy to make great things. Think about it. Like Grand Theft Auto, they're making the fifth. They're on their fifth installment. They figure that ish out. You know what I mean? They like let's make an open world game, but in the Western surrounding. You know, they at least have the open world part figured out. All they had to do next is to figure out how to do it in the Western. If Rockstar was to be like, hey, you know what? We want to make a Jurassic Park, but open world adventure game, they could do it because they already know the open world. They would just have to figure out the Jurassic Park part of it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so like what happens with Hollywood is that, you know, here's two good examples of a really good product and a really bad product that are in the same genre, and why it's just so clear that they're making those mistakes. One is the superhero genre, right? So you have Marvel. Marvel's kicking butt, right? Like they're just unstoppable. They're just making one movie. Like I thought Ant-Man was going to be the movie that started bringing the decline of their movies. And I loved it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this movie is freaking amazing, right? I was like, I could not believe that I thought at the end of this movie that I would realize that Ant-Man is probably the most overpowered superhero. I thought he was the most underpowered, and I left that movie thinking he was the most overpowered, right? And they just did that, right? They just do a good job of that, right? And then you look at DC. So what is DC doing, right? DC's like, hey, like check it out. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make a superhero movie, and we're gonna put explosions in it, and it's gonna be great. People are gonna love it, right? We're gonna put handsome actors and actresses because that's what Marvel's doing, right? No, dude, you're not paying attention, and that's the problem. You know, they think that the formula is really simple, that it's easy, but it isn't. You understand that every movie that Marvel had to make, they had to fight for. You know, they had to fight to get Iron Man made. You understand that, right? They're like, how are you gonna let a C-list character of your movies be the star of a movie, right? Like, how's that gonna work? And they're like, well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it differently because, like all these other movies, the people that have taken our franchises, what they've done is just put more explosions. What we've seen succeed is that people put the comic in comic movies, right? They put the fun in it. So we're gonna get a director who has comedic background and also a good director, Jon Favreau. We're gonna take an actor that's not as popular anymore, but he can do good drama, but he's also has personality. He's funny, right? Robert Downey Jr. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much what they've done for almost all their movies. Paul Rudd, Chris Pratt, right? Like if you look at the cast of Avengers, only one or two of them are probably overtly handsome or beautiful people. Everyone else is like people that have actual personalities, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at the cast of the Avengers, what are they? Just super beautiful people. Other than the most beloved of the one that just came out was Batman, right? No, that's Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck has a personality. You know, like who's Henry Cavill? He's literally like what I imagine Superman to look like the perfect look, but the perfect person, not even close. It's the same problem that happened with the Battleship versus Transformers. As much as you hate Michael Bay knows what people want to see. He could have hired super handsome actors and actresses to be in the first Transformers movie, right? But he hired
He
who?
did.
He hired Shia LaBeouf, right?
Megan Fox.
Yeah, and he brought
But
Megan
can you
Fox.
admit that's more of a monetary thing than an actual like qualitative like?
Jeff Goldblum was one of the best parts of Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Think about Tom Hanks. Who is that kind of person? Why do we love him in a lot of movies? Because he has personality. He has actual character in the person. You know what I mean? When you start hiring, like that's the thing that Marvel is doing, and I think DC hasn't figured it out yet, right? And they're spending all their money, like you said, in the wrong places, right? But that's the thing. They don't see it because it's not easy. Like how do you know for sure that if you cast Chris Pratt, he's gonna be the next Harrison Ford? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like a far fetch, right? Like think about it. Like imagine if you're in that boardroom, right? And you're thinking to yourself, all right, we're gonna put a lead to this new like space adventure movie. There's a talking tree in it Okay, shoot. And there's a talking raccoon. And I didn't press this. It's going to work out. All right. Well, the leading man. At least you got the leading man, right? Like, people will go for the leading man. We got it. The fat guy from Parks and Rec. The fat guy from
Who's
Parks
now
and Rec.
super buff.
Yeah, don't worry. Fat's easy. But what we don't have is personality. Like, he's a really funny guy. He's a really good guy. He'd be perfect. They're like, I don't know, man. Well, like, shouldn't we have him be the raccoon? No, we had Bradley Cooper being the raccoon. Wait, what? Wait, what? You have Bradley Cooper being the raccoon?
It's pretty true.
Immediately? No. It'll be hilarious that he's the raccoon. And he's like, no, dude, I don't know about this. All right, it's good. We got Vin Diesel in the film. Oh, awesome. Well, is he gonna play the big muscular guy that like is super literal? No. He's gonna be the tree that only says one line. You know, imagine trying to pitch that to a bunch of executives who have millions of dollars at stake. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to tell you is what you understand. That's hard to do. You get it?
That's the real skill, being able to pitch.
And being right, because a lot of people are wrong, too, when they make those choices. You know what I mean? Imagine how hard it took. Like, Deadpool was in the making for many, many years. And until that trailer leaked, until people, like, lost their minds for that, like, leaked trailer that Blur did, then they were like, oh, okay, maybe we could see why people would want to watch it. But they've been trying to make that movie for decades, you know? And they made it for, like, you were saying, like, yeah, it is possible to make a movie for like less amount of money. That's absolutely true. But it's not about if you can. It's about can you convince people? I mean, think of Stranger Things. Stranger Things was like hard fought to be made, right? And again, Star Wars, one of the greatest, most beloved franchises. Imagine being in an executive board at Fox. Some guy comes in, some hippie-looking motherfucker from San Francisco. He has his idea. He's only made one other movie, and it's this weird fucking artsy movie, right? He comes in, he says, hey, look, I got this idea. It takes place in space. All right, people are really into space nowadays. That's cool. There's a talking dog. Wait, what? Space wizards. Laser space. What? Get the hell out of here. No, it's going to be a hit. Trust me, people are going to love it. What in the world are people going to find interesting about laser swords and talking dogs? This is like the most bizarre, super 70s thing that you can think of. You know, like, come on, dude.
But
it's like
at the
cliche
same
on cliche.
time, you gotta think of the time period and the movie quality
No,
during that time
no, I
period.
don't, because it got
Yes, you do.
he couldn't get it made. You don't know anything. You know nothing. You know nothing about how. You know what he had to do to get that movie made.
Unnecessarily.
Well, then what do you mean? Because he couldn't get it made unless he had to give up all of his director fees, which is in the millions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much all, like, he pretty much gave them pretty much all substantial rights except for one thing, which was the smartest thing that he ever did, which was the merchandise and the franchise, the licensing of it. Because they're like, well, all right, you could keep the toy sales, like, but that's only because we don't think it's going to do well, right? And we're going to take all your money. That's great. That works out. You know what I mean? And sure enough, when the movie came out, he flew to Hawaii in the fear that he thought it was going to be a commercial flop. He didn't want to be there when it failed. He was so afraid of it, how bad it was going to do, right? He really was believing in everyone. And when he landed, like, he just saw on the news, like, people losing their minds, and his agents are trying to get a hold of him, try to tell him. And then that's when he knew. That's when he knew that it actually was worth the damn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even know until, like, people had to show it to him, prove it to him. You know what I mean? This is what I'm saying, that it's hard. It's not easy. I mean, even the greatest film directors do one thing right, which is they keep hiring the same people. From not even just the cast and crew, like, I mean, not just the crew, the cast too. Like, look at Nolan, right? He literally hires like the same. I don't think that Michael Caine will never be in any of his movies. Like, he will always be in every movie he makes. It doesn't matter. He'll find a place for him. You know? Like, he just puts him in his movies. You know, Christian Bale was in his movies before he put him in Batman. You know?
Johnny Depp and fucking
Yeah. And Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
And Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, that's the guy.
Yeah, and then what else? You look at Quentin Tarantino, Steven Spielberg.
Oh, Samuel Jackson.
Yeah. You know? But that's the thing, like, that's the beauty of the directors who do well, is that they understand that if they keep the same people that make the first movies great, then they can keep it going. Because here's how Hollywood works, and this is why it keeps fucking up. They keep switching the team, right? Unlike game studios, unlike animation studios even, the team is usually unified, right? Like the same people who worked on StarCraft and Diablo, a lot of the same people are still around, to help guide it through, right? But then you look at like movies, the film industry is just a constant orgy of new people coming in and out. You know what I mean? That's my least favorite part about it. I hated it. I'll see you later, John. Yeah, see you on Wednesday. And so, when you start to think about like why aren't why don't these guys just figure it out? It's just not that simple. And you think about it, like directors come in, these new directors come in and they think the same way, and they come in and they make crap, right? It's not easy, right? It's like everything
that's what I
takes
think.
effort to get good at.
Like, I have no experience in the actual industry, but what I think of when I think of Hollywood is like a focus group and these random people deciding what's good. And then also market research as well. Of course, they're going to do market research and pander to their market.
Absolutely. You're not wrong about that. But that's
Yeah.
true for every industry. That's also true for the animation. That's also true. Like, think about Pixar. What is the number one money-making animation that they made?
Frozen.
No, that's Disney.
Oh.
And that's thanks to John
Toy
Lasseter.
Story.
Nope. You would think it would be.
Nemo.
Pixar is probably...
I'm sorry.
No,
Planes.
Hold on just a second, guys.
Planes.
It's your name and birthday.
It was Planes too.
No, it's Cars.
Cars.
Cars is what made them be able to
Cars
take it.
make more money than The Incredibles?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a
There's
good movie.
there's no Incredibles land. There's no Toy Story land.
That's
That's
true.
true.
There's Cars land.
What?
Cosland?
Yeah.
I didn't
California.
even know that.
Yeah, Disneyland.
But I
That's
need-
Cars land.
Yeah.
And it's
in
awesome.
California
Travel.
Adventure.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. And my kids
fun?
just love it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I've never been.
Yeah, when you
I'm so sad
You
we're
get to
getting rid
get-
of the Tower of Terror, though. I think.
Huh?
Do you get to get inside the cars? Because that would be horrendous.
Yeah, you get in the car. Like, they have a ride where you're in, like, two of the cars, and then you race against each other,
That's
kind
awesome.
of. It's like a mini roller
That's
coaster.
gross.
It's
Anthony?
fun. Yes.
On a different note, sorry, off topic, but your brushes, is available online? Can we get it or
Yeah, there
buy
should
it?
be. No, there should be on my website. Actually, I changed my website up. So let's see what's up. Let's see how I would be able to find it. Oh,
I think they're on Gumroad.
No, but
Yeah?
I have it so that you can actually get them. Oh, you know what? I don't have them anymore. Here, let
Oh
me.
no.
No, calm down.
No.
No, I can make it happen right now. I could just do it.
Squarespace.
Yeah.
How many brushes
the
are in the
hood.
pack?
Under the hood. Hold on.
Squarespace. Your Squarespace is so much nicer than mine.
Wait, so you start with transparency and you build your way up?
Yeah, unfortunately, the brushes won't make much of a difference. I'm only using a round brush, but I do have one
Okay.
brush that's really cool. Hold on. Where the heck? It should be under resources. Oh, here you go. All right, let's put this under tutorials. And then now, let's go to the website. So if you go to tutorials, resources, and there should be brushes. There.
Yay!
Whoa.
Oh, I think I already got your brushes.
When it comes to like a quick kind of like creature or something like this, how much would you say you're balancing the values compared to balancing the edges, the control of that?
Oh, I'm doing
That's a
edge.
good question.
I'm doing edges and value. That's all one and the same.
Oh, okay.
It's like
So
it's all
Try,
part of the
try and just bash them.
yeah. It's all part of what makes my paintings look the way they do. So I have
so
to
when you're
control my values and my edges.
but when you're doing a painting, is it when you're because you're doing a lot of edges, and I've noticed just with myself that when the more edges I do, the messier it gets in terms of just like having that the way I don't know the way that Photoshop is it's really digital and like to work around that to make it look more natural. I don't know. Does that just have does that is that all just values
So I
or
think you're talking about a different thing. I think you're talking about an actual technique.
hmm,
So I think what you're talking about is something that unfortunately I have an answer for, and you're not going to like it. Calling
hmm.
you out again.
Oh snap.
This whole class is going to be called out. Yeah, you said you like tough love, so here it comes.
Hey man, hit me.
um, no, it's not like that. I'm really
Tell me
good.
I suck, bro. I
I,
suck.
no, it's not that you suck. It's just that I have really good control of how hard or how soft I can push at any given
So
moment.
in other words, I suck.
So like that's me at the softest. This is me at the hardest. That sounds
Mhm.
dirty,
Would you ever?
but you get my point. Is that
Yeah.
this is all technique, and this
Yeah.
takes time. It's like when people ask me like how do I blend, it's like I just blend, you know. And it's similar to like the kind of question that the equivalent to the kind of question you're asking, right? If I had to equate it to something else, would
Hmm.
be to like how do you hit accurately with a backhand with like a tennis racket?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's I could tell you how it's done, but it doesn't change the fact that you're not going to go all of a sudden and start hitting awesome backhands, are you? Right? Because what ends up happening is to be at that level, you have to do what? You have to practice your backhands, right? And so what I'm trying to tell you is like I just have really good control of my edges and my values.
Is there a way to kind of finesse that, or is it just over time you finesse that?
Yeah,
Is
just
there techniques you use at all?
yeah, just try to paint very soft and very hard without with any like don't because usually the problem I see is students can only go at this range or at this range,
Hmm.
which you can see there's a really subtle difference where I can go like that range to this range, which is pretty much the end.
Hmm.
Is there any reason you have your spacing down? I just realized, like, I think that makes it softer because you put another brush on and it had its
Yeah,
spacing up to
that's
full
true.
and
'Cause
it seemed crisper.
No,
I have my spacing to like 10, 15, and
So
it's
this
like,
one's like 5.
yeah.
Wait, hold on just a second. It's Robotpencil at Hotmail. Did you do that one? Sorry, my wife's trying to get Netflix. She's trying to like write words in front of my face while sitting
Feel
there.
that?
So this brush has no spacing, and yet I can paint with it.
Hmm.
Right. So it's you know there's this constant debate about what brushes, you know, like it's not about the brushes. I'm gonna say right now, like of course brushes help, you know. There's no arguing that. But I think what a lot of you guys are wanting is not gonna come from the brush, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm,
Okay, so stop
Mm.
distracting yourself with the brush. All right.
of course.
But don't think that brushes aren't awesome. Like there's awesome brushes. That's why I have more than one. If I only really believed I needed one, then I would not use any other brush, right? But it's just like, what do these other brushes do for me at that given moment? You know what I mean?
Anthony, not to call you out or anything, but I'm gonna say that I don't think you understood my question at all.
I'm sorry. That could be true. No, that's
No. But in terms from what I was wondering is I just have a problem with things looking just from the brush strokes too digital. Is that a thing of just not having the values down, correctly, or is that a technical issue?
You're saying that your paintings feel digital?
Like just maybe I can say yeah, it is from the brushstrokes, but I don't know how to.
Maybe you don't understand your own question. Maybe I'm calling you back. Because okay, from
Getting real.
taking
Getting
it from
real.
taking from face value from what you literally just said right now,
Mhm.
you're saying like how like from the root of that question, it seems like you're asking, how do I make my paintings not look digital,
Mhm.
and then yet yours are digital, right? And
No,
it's
no,
like,
no. No, yours are not digital. In my just from
Are
just
you
if
asking that
I were
to
to
look
do
clearly?
like
hold on, go ahead.
but from my experience, if I were to do the small brush strokes you're doing, it would come out more. It wouldn't come out as.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
I
asking
think
you.
I,
If
I
Are,
think
are you asking like
I,
how
think
realistic it's going?
no,
huh?
I think I got you, and I think I already answered it. I think you just didn't listen. Like, what I'm trying to tell you is, it takes practice.
Hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
No, but what I'm asking is what is the practice? I
Of
mean,
not making it look digital is just by practicing what you have problems with. You know, like if so. So what do you think that I did? What do you believe that I might have done that I'm not trying to say to you right now that you're wanting me to say, but I'm not saying? What
no,
do you
I have
think is the
no idea
secret?
because from what I because you're traditionally from 2D, right? You before
No,
this you
I've
did
done everything
3D.
digital.
No, but I'm saying you like before when you were starting, you only did 2D, right?
No, I started in digital. When I was 23 is when I started becoming an artist. I went
No,
from,
but you do 3D and 2D art as well,
oh no, I
or
did
did
mostly
you
2D.
start in
I see what you're saying. Like, yeah, I just did 2D, but it was all in digital medium.
2D? Yeah, no, yeah. So, I mean, like, I come from a 3D background. I mean,
Gotcha.
I've done I grew up drawing line art and stuff, but
Gotcha.
in terms of painting, I'm having that like hard like that struggle between figuring out how to do 2D without the 3D aspect and having that those maybe what you call um like the cheating like lighting and stuff.
Hold on.
Huh?
Because if I can do the same exact thing in 3D and make it look really good, but in 2D I couldn't do half of that.
So you can make your 3D look um, more natural, more painterly. Is that what
Yeah,
you're trying to say?
yeah,
Okay. And then, but when you try to do it in 2D, like in Photoshop, it feels digital and forced.
yeah,
Well, let me ask
exactly.
you, how many years have you spent in 2D digital painting?
Probably I'd say 1 year of actually like trying and 3 years of just like messing around. So altogether like three
Like,
to 4 years.
and you think like consistently for a year in a span of 3 years?
Yeah, like between 3 and 4 years.
Okay. I've been doing this nearly 10. That's the answer, man. I'm trying to tell you. It's like I look at traditional paintings, right? And I look at traditional painters, and I use traditional painting techniques, and I just do it a lot. Like, unfortunately, that's what I say. Like, I feel bad because I wish there was like like, just do this,
Hmm.
bro, and in 2 months you'll be fine. Got it.
Yeah.
Got him. Right? Um,
Yeah.
but it really isn't. It's really not that simple. That's the problem that I'm trying to convey. It's like,
Yeah.
would you be convinced? Uh,
Sunshine.
like, yeah, if you were to try to, let's say, become a triathlon runner, you know what
Uh-huh.
that is?
Yeah.
Someone who does like running, swimming, and biking, right? Got it? You know what that is now? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Right.
And if you were to ask a runner, like, how do you put your feet on the ground? that makes you run so fast? How do you pedal those pedals so good that makes you bike so well? What do you do with your arms that makes you swim faster? That would sound ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that questioning that person, because you already know the answer to why they're so good at like probably what they're doing, right? It's because they've done extensive training, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of ludicrous to ask like what shoes you're wearing at that point. The only other person that really can ask that kind of question is another pro athlete, where like subtleties do matter at that point. You know what I mean? But if you're like an average day Joe like me, right, hanging out, and I want to compete, and I'm worried about the shoes or the bike to be the thing that's going to decide whether I'm going to be able to compete professionally or not at my level now, it's crazy. It's kind of like, come on, what are you thinking, right? And that's what I'm trying to reveal to you is like, I'm not saying that brushes aren't important because I really do. And I think having good brush technique is important as well. What I'm trying to say is that what makes me good at this brush work is similar to like what makes a triathlon athlete great at biking, riding his bike, swimming, and running is that they put a lot of extensive training into it, you know? To say that
Can I
one
suggest
thing,
something?
to say that one thing is more important than the other would be lying to you. To say, hey, you should just focus on this would be a mistake because that would be only one part of it, right? Because think of it like this. My anatomy is accounted for. My color sensibilities are accounted for. My value sensibilities are accounted for, let alone just my brushes. My adverse, like professional, like level understanding of Photoshop is also accounted for, right? My years of designing creatures and monsters are accounted for. Now, if you were to ask me to design a vehicle right now, I would have a hard time doing it, man. You know what I mean? And it's similar to asking a strength athlete, like a person that power lifts, to all of a sudden try to beat somebody that can run a marathon, and vice versa. Yes, they're great at their fields, but and they're both athletes, but they're not. Doesn't mean that all of a sudden that person could do another person's sport, right? I mean, you could take even the same sport. You could take two football players. You could take a lineman and a running back, right? And you can't just swap them, can you? Right? And you can even take two similar like things in that same sport. You can take a fullback and a running back, and still you can't just swap them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you see? Do you start to see what I'm trying to get at? My point is,
No, no,
that
I completely.
my point is that if you really want to get to that level, my friend,
Yeah.
you just got to start practicing it and making that like a staple of your diet every day from here on out.
I think it's just an ego thing where like I feel like I've been doing this for this amount of time. I should be at
Oh,
this
dude,
level.
absolutely. You nailed it. You nailed it on the head right there. That's perfect. In fact, I have a good way of explaining what you just said. It's the big
Yeah.
fish in a small pond mentality, right? And it's like, just because I'm good at one thing, why am I not good enough? You have false expectations, right?
Yeah.
I would never expect you to be a good animator. Are you a good animator?
I'm not bad, but I'm not great.
Yeah, but
I'm
are you great? You're not, right? Because you don't
Yeah.
put hundreds of hours like a great animator would, right? But they're both artistic fields. Why aren't you?
Yeah.
You're an artist, aren't you? How dare you not be good at it? It's ludicrous to think that way, isn't it? What do you not design a lot of? Like, what thing do you never touch? Like, what?
I'd say one thing I never touch. I've tried to do it all, but
What about like
I
Pixar animation type artwork? Can you do that?
like
Have you done that?
like animation or just like
Like
artwork.
Pixar artwork, like concept.
I've tried to do that and I can replicate it. So I'm good. I'm good. The thing is that I can replicate stuff really good, but when it comes to like what I see in my
Manufacturing.
head, it doesn't come out the way I want it to. Like
Well,
I can
you just don't have a lot
copy
of
it.
practice in that. That's all. It's just you, and we'll get to that actually. I'll actually be really good. That's a really good thing to talk about. I'll help you get past that because a lot of that has to do with just having not enough information floating in your brain subconsciously. Like I said, having reference is essential, both external and internal. But if you want to be a concept artist, you have to have a lot of that external. I'm sorry, internal. I mean, sorry, I said it wrong, backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, getting back to my point, like, what is the thing that you don't do a lot of then? Like, maybe, have you ever done stuff for, like, I don't know, card illustration? I don't know, like, just anything that you can think of that you know you haven't touched. My point is that if I were to ask you to try to get a job at Pixar tomorrow, would you be able to? And the answer would probably be no, right? And it's okay, because me neither. Okay, right? Like, I'm in the same camp of sucking at getting a job at Pixar, right?
Yeah.
Do you see the concept of what I'm trying to point out to you? Like, it's yes, it's art, it's concept art, it's character art, but I don't do Pixar animation character. I'm just, like, and to think that I can just because I could draw really well is naive, you know? Because those people spent years, some of them decades as well, mastering that, you know? And like, yeah, you might think it's good, but to them they'll like laugh, right? That's
Right.
that's that's the very sad truth. Like, I know this, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not being working at Pixar. I love their movies. I'm a big fan of their films. I know a lot of people who actually work there. You know, I have no problems being the tumor monster dude. Person that draws tumor monster guys all day with abnormal musculatures. You know what I mean?
Maybe if you make it cute and like,
Let's be clear.
yeah.
Over the years, have slowly dabbled here and there with cute stuff, and I think maybe in another 5 years, I might actually be able to probably apply. You know, but the fact that I don't intentionally go for it and strive for it just means that maybe it's just not something I really care for. In fact, the kind of person I am, and I think maybe we're similar too in this regards, where we're talking about like really competitive mentalities. So when I was playing guitar, I would like listen to death metal and heavy like metal vibe
Hey,
in
we're the same person.
in
Whoa.
my mouse theme because it wasn't about playing good music. Yeah, it wasn't about playing good music. It was about playing the best
Just
kind of music,
completely
right?
technical, like it
Yes,
doesn't matter.
absolutely. And that's probably what drives me away from Pixar is that not because it's bad art, it's because it doesn't require much from me technically.
Yeah.
It requires more from me creatively. In fact, if you meet like Pixar designers or animation designers in general, they're very quirky, very full of personality, right?
Yeah, they're a lot. They're too much.
Yeah, and
I feel like
that's
They're too
why they're
happy. I
so
don't
good.
trust them.
That's why
I
they're
feel
so
like
good at making
we're
them.
more of, like the robotic type that wants to know like things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you just got to know who
Understand
you are and
in
accept
a
that,
really
embrace it, and just
technical
master
way.
it.
Oh my god, you guys know Pixar artists and are working on video games and shit. I walk out the street and like I see a homeless person. It's awesome. Fuck. I'm gonna move to America.
Wait, what? You say
I'm
you
gonna-
you look at homeless people? You're married to them?
No, I don't live
What's
with
going on?
homeless people.
Oh, if you came to America and you saw our homeless people, Jesus.
Yeah, we
I
got
was
to
gonna.
agree. But let's not talk
Oh
about that.
god.
Let's keep it positive. Let's keep it positive. But any other questions though before I let you go? I have to.
How do you consider a painting or anything done? Like what's your endpoint?
For me, when it looks good, and that changes year by year, depending on the kind of art that I'm into. But I have a pretty high standard for myself. But how to answer that question for yourself is really easy, actually. Uh, who's your favorite artist? Think about them in your head, right? Think about some of your favorite people and artists, and then look at their portfolios and ask yourself: is your work that good? Is your work that finished?
No.
And you'll be able to answer that really easily, really quickly. Okay, and it's different for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I go on the the road of push yourself beyond them as well. Look at who they're influenced by. And then look who they're influenced by.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to just stop at the like. Here's a better question you should ask yourself. What is the most that I should do, and then how can I do more? Because if you think about, because that question that you asked, there's a root to that question, which is like thinking of the minimum effort, right? That's really kind of the root of that question. That stems from that idea of like, how far do I need to go until I can stop? And I'm trying to say, don't think that way. Think like, just go beyond, because all the other amateur and artists that are starting out are the ones that are going to stop when it's time to stop. You know what I mean? Does it make sense? And you don't want to be those. You don't want to be amongst that crew. There's a very few people who push beyond, and you can easily be one of those people by just doing that one simple thing, pushing further than you're. Like I could tell you, oh yeah, paint like Jeremy Geddes.
Yeah.
Right, and then that might be overwhelming for you. It's overwhelming still for me. Let me show you one of his images.
Is there such thing as like overdone or no?
Yeah, when it's overdone, I guess. That's the word, right?
Like.
So look at this image.
Like,
this is a painting.
What?
So this to me is standards that I try to live up to. So comparatively, if you look at my image to this, it's like garbage, right?
It's not garbage. It's a different.
It's garbage.
No.
That's just kidding.
No.
How dare you try to make me feel better? No,
It's hyper realistic.
It's good. I get that, but that's my point. I'm living up to a standard that's really hard to live up to. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know that this is running in my head, but I do, and that's why I forgive myself if it's not Jeremy Geddes quality. You know what I mean? Because I know it's beyond what anyone else will try to do, or not anyone else, but most people, right?
Yeah.
And he's right. It is different because his is more like contemporary, and mine is more cerebral, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's also something to consider. But like my point is that when I'm comparing like painting quality, I'm comparing to people like that. You know what I mean? And so you should do the same. You should have that. You're Jeremy Geddes, and it doesn't have to be super photorealistic painting either, but it has to be quality. And I'm sure the people that you look up to have quality work. That's what I'm trying to say. Like there's artwork out there that's not entirely photorealistic, but I would still consider quality painting. You know what I mean? But there's paintings out there that people find that are like half done, and they get really attached to them because they're like, oh, they're half done. I don't have to work on my work. And then they do, and then their expectations of finished work is now diminished because now they're thinking they just need to go here. So if they go to the halfway mark, do you see the problem?
Yeah.
Because this person, even though they might be there, they're thinking here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you should ignore that and go there, and then your work will be here or even better. Right?
Okay.
And there's something to be said too, like, you know, Remy was talking about, like, you know, it's different too. There's a point where eventually there is no like I have better artwork, he or she has better artwork than me. It eventually becomes different. Like people just have different artwork, right? So that's why I emphasize the word quality, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I say person that you think has quality work and someone that you think is awesome. Live up to that standard, you know what I mean? Because everyone's different. And although I might love Jeremy, I know, and then now I think Remy will be like, oh, what the dope. Now he has a standard to live up to. It's very similar to me, right?
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't mean that's your road, right? I used to have a bad habit of teaching my students to paint just like me, and they weren't painting any better than they could have, and they all look like my work, and it's not what I want. I want everyone to be different, and everyone have their own quality to their own work, right? And I think I've gotten to the ability to do that for my students. And so keep that in mind. So whatever you feel is done, you're probably wrong. Go a little further. Yeah, just go a little further. Trust me, because a lot of people will stop when it's easy, and that's the problem. And if you want to be amongst the greats, it's actually very simple, and actually very, very, very simple. Just go a little further than what other people might go. That's all. That's all you need to do. It's really that simple. And you might feel, you know, you could go further. You might have like these self-doubts of how far you actually went and stuff like that. And just go a little further. Just go a little bit further. Just a little further every time. And you don't have to go a lot. Just go a little every time, and the next thing you know, you'll be a badass, and everyone loves your work. And you'll be just like me in the sense that, like, I know what I did, and that's why I don't really feel but I am a badass because everyone else can do exactly what I did, which is just
Yeah.
eat a lot, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's really like I am nothing like what all in which you guys are experiencing in the class is my expertise on things and my saying, hey, don't go down that route because I've done that. Trust my words on this type of stuff because I've been there, done that. I always try to encourage my students to make different mistakes, make different failures. Don't make the same as I did. Don't get distracted by the same stuff that I used to get distracted. Some of the questions about like the brushes and the brush strokes, those are distractions to the truth that I realized much later in my career. Let me tell you a great story and then before I end the class for you guys, okay?
Sure.
That taught me this valuable lesson of how to become a better painter. Okay, you want to hear the story?
Yes, please.
All right. So this was a turning point where I was doing a workshop. I was helping host a workshop with my life drawing instructor. He was hosting this workshop, and it was his life drawing instructor, Steve Houston, was doing this workshop.
I knew it.
Yeah, Steve Houston's awesome.
So
And
good.
Steve Houston was my life drawing instructor's instructor, right? So I'm like, oh, this is crazy meta. And so he's teaching us about his career. That's pretty much all he's doing. It's a 4-hour workshop, and for 4 hours, all he's doing is talking about his career. And it's
Yeah.
cool. Actually, it's really cool. It's really cool to hear all these great stories and really funny moments in his life and his career. And I was real into it, man. Right? But then time was like running out, man. It was like almost 3.5 hours, and he had yet to do a demo. There was supposed to be a demo as well. It was promised for the workshop. And I reached out to my instructor and I said, hey, it's like, what's going on, boss? Like, you need to start painting. And he's like, oh yeah, you're right. Okay, so I'll talk to him. So he goes up to him, he tells him, hey, time's running out. You got to do a painting. And he's like, oh, okay, great. So he pulls out his easel, he pulls out his paints, he pulls out all his tools and everything, right? He's getting set up. And I'm getting really excited. Me and my friends are like losing our minds. We're like, oh, dude, we're going to see you paint. It's gonna be amazing. But that, too, took like 15 minutes for him to set up and like talking more about his career and talking about like how he got this easel. And I'm just getting frustrated. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to literally have like only 10 minutes left before he does a demo, right? And I'm just like, oh, Jesus, we're not going to get anything. He's just going to paint like just like half a thing and then that's it. So I was really frustrated. I was like, oh, I really wanted to see him paint. I was really excited about that. It was a great workshop nonetheless, So then he looks at the audience right before he puts his paintbrush onto the canvas because he paints with oils, right? He looks at the audience. He looks at us. With a straight face, he says, I'm the fastest painter you'll ever meet. And then bam, he starts painting, right? Just starts going at it. And all of a sudden, like, there's an arm. I blink my eye. There's a back. I blink my eye. It was like half a torso fully rendered. I'm like, what the? I stopped blinking my eye after that moment, right? I just like, all right, like Clockwork Orange. Like the scene from Clockwork Orange, I just had to like weld it open. Because like I literally was missing something every time I blinked my eyes. It was crazy. And I was so like impressed. But something hit me like a freight train. Something that I was trying to convince you of earlier when you guys were asking me these questions, right? That the reason why he was so good was of all the stuff he talked about in his 4 hours, those 3 hours of him talking about like his career and the stuff that he did and all those things that he did, all that experience that he gained over the many years of his career and his painting life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I paint like a jerk off. Because I haven't spent much time doing it. I haven't took it very seriously. I've been trying to find the right around texture brushes. I've been trying to find the right like technique or the perfect workflow, right? It never occurred to me, did you think that maybe the best way to paint something right is to paint something right the first time? Without any process. Just drawing the arm accurate the first time, making every goddamn mark count. Because that's what he was doing.
Goddamn.
You see what I'm saying? It never occurred to me that drawing a straight line, no tool's better than just drawing it straight the first time. no tool can do that faster than if you can just do it the first time right. And unfortunately, that takes a lot of practice. That was kind of the point I was trying to get to. You know, there's a saying, there's a really good story that involves Picasso that's relevant to this story. You know, some lady asked him to draw a painting for him, or draw a sketch for him, and she said, "I'll pay you whatever amount." You know, and he's like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it for $100." She's like, "All right, $100, it's cheap for original Picasso drawing. Hell yeah, right?" So he puts paper to pencil, and in 30 seconds he has a drawing finished. It's a portrait of her, and it's amazing, right? And she looks at it,
Yeah.
she can't believe it. She's like, I can't believe that only took you 30 seconds. And he looks at her and he says, 30 seconds? It's more like 30 years. Okay?
Oh, that's deep.
So
That's deep.
that's my point. Don't get distracted with that stuff. Okay? Brushes, of course,
Okay.
you know,
What you're saying
it's
is,
easier to put together IKEA furniture with the power tools than the freaking stupid little things that they give you, you know?
so what you're saying is stalk someone for 30 years and learn how to paint them.
Yeah. That's exactly what he did. He just followed her around, and then he just waited for that one moment. Everything else was a ruse. Like all that like abstract art, the blue era, all ruse just to get that room. So you could just be a boss. That one moment. That'd be funny though.
He just knocked her out.
Yeah. That'd be funny. You guys know of Kim Jong-gi? I mean, we have a living
Yeah.
Picasso.
Yeah.
Kim Jong-gi is a really good example of this too.
Uh-huh.
I had a friend we were talking, and he's like, "Oh my God, like I can't believe, like I just can't believe how good he is." And I looked at him, and it's like, "What do you mean you can't believe it?" Like he's so good. He can like start from a toenail and have like a full illustration. And I was like, "What are you confused about?" He's like, "It's just like, how does he do it?" He's like, "Do you know nothing about him? Did you do any research? You know nothing, right?" It's like, just investigate, and it's no mystery. He has closets full of sketchbooks. Closet full. Okay. He said in one interview that he like literally would fill sketchbooks up like weekly, right?
Yeah.
He'll just fill them up. Whenever he could draw, he would draw. And he's been doing that for pretty much all of his life. You know? What is there what are you confused about? Why are you confused he's so good? Have you done anything that seriously for that long and been bad at it? Right? Like, come on. You know, he's amazing for obvious reasons. It's no mystery, right? It's no mystery, and just people just want to believe it's just magic. Like he just magically can just draw so well. I don't know. I've never in my whole career has met an artist like that. That I met like, hey, you know, how you doing, man? Oh yeah, dude, I'm doing great. Let me tell you something. I just started doing this concept art stuff. Oh really? Like 2 or 3 years ago or something like that, or 5 years ago? Oh no, like yesterday. What? What do you mean? No, like yesterday I was like, you know, bagging groceries and I decided, I think I do concept art stuff. So I just started sketching in a book, sent it to Blizzard, and they gave me a job. It was great. Worked out perfect. Wait. Did you draw before that? No, I never drew in my whole life. I just started to draw. I mean, even in preschool I never drew. I just decided not to do it. I was like, I don't want to. Oh, okay.
You're like, fuck crayons.
Yeah, you literally did nothing except yesterday, and now you work for Blizzard. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just saying, I never met anybody like that. Okay. Almost every single artist, and every single artist you guys could think of now, pretty much has a very similar story, which is they painted a lot over a period of time. Okay. They got really good at whatever they decided to get good at in that time, with that effort. Okay, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before you guys are all badasses. Seriously. It's just a matter of time. You know, I've been teaching for about, specifically Robotpencil for about 1.5 years now, almost 2, actually.
Yeah.
And a lot of my students that's already happening. They're already becoming badasses. You know, 3 years from now, I believe 50% of the industry is going to probably be made up of my students. Like 3 years from now, seriously, I'm not being cocky. It's just a numbers game. I teach a lot of people, and time and effort makes people good. You know,
That's true.
that's just it's just a numbers game. It has nothing to do with like, hey, if you learn from me, you're going to be the next greatest thing. It's not just that. It's just that I usually put good ideals in people that keep them painting and keep them working, and then eventually with that formula, they usually succeed. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you could take other classes from other instructors. I, in fact, encourage it, right? You could take other gumroads. You could learn from other people and learn just as many valuable things from them. But you went through me now, so I'm part of that roster of people that influenced you, you know? And I have a lot of
For
people
sure.
that I've done that for, you know what I mean? Not only just through my mentorships, through my gumroad tutorials, you know, through my live streams.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, it's just going to be a big, big turn of events. You're going to see it.
Saying I'm a complete badass here.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's all because of me.
It's all because of Anthony.
Yeah, no, just kidding. It's not going to be all because of me. But my point is that.
You have great insight, man.
But my point is that, like, you know, I try to plant seeds because I already know you're all going to be great. And so I encourage you guys to communicate with one another as well. Don't just be friends with other industry professionals or people that could have obvious leverage for your career. Be friends with everybody that's awesome. Be friends with awesome people. You know what I mean? Because, because being awesome is hard to come across. Being awesome RR is not that hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. Gonna roll out.
All right. Night.
Thank you guys for
Thanks,
hanging
man.
out. Good job on your homework. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you guys Wednesday. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Here to hang out with each other outside of class.
See ya.
Later.
Night.
Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you liked the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.